Hello, Billy Diamond here. Something I wanted to share with you really quick, and that is if you're getting ready to do a big vinyl banner or a big backdrop or even a big backdrop for a theater, there's nothing worse than sinking money into that, sending it off to be printed, and you get it back and you realize, oh no, there was a problem with the artwork that we didn't see. And that's why we do what we do. So I always look at this with a different set of eyes as an entertainer, and not just as an entertainer, but I always ask the question when I'm doing a client project, and that is, would I want that in my own show? Would I use that in my own show? And I'm not talking about what it looks like. I'm talking about the quality. And I came up with something that we've been doing lately for our printed backdrops and bigger items so that you can actually color calibrate and things like that. And that's what separates us from a lot of the other printers, because you're not going to get this and you're not going to get this little extra step. So let me show you that right now. So what you're looking at here is simply test prints prior to production, prior to this going to the big printer where it has to be done and what you get when it ships to you. This is just samples. And these test prints are really great on many levels. First of all, this is going to be a 10-foot wide by 8-foot tall pop-up backdrop. And these are two little side banners that are about 30 inches wide by 6 foot tall that go on X-frames. And I'll show you how that turned out here in a moment. That will be later. But what's great about these and doing it this way is you can clearly see what it's going to look like on print. Maybe not exactly the same thing as far as material, because this is a little bit different than what this will actually get printed on. The same with this. This will actually be on vinyl. But what's great about doing these setups like this is you can see it in advance. And this is something that we can do even if you're going to send it to another printer. This is something that we can handle for you. And you just send us the file, and we can tell you and ship this off to you, and you can see exactly what it looks like prior to the big thing that you're going to use on stage. And again, this is great on many levels because it's color calibrated for CMYK versus RGB. Now, you might be scratching your head saying, Billy, I have no idea what you're talking about. RGB, CMYK, 300 DPI, 150 DPI, 72 DPI. Let me just break it down very, very briefly, and that is that, first of all, this does not need to be done at 300 DPI. And what that is dots per inch, or in most cases these days it's pixels per inch, okay? And on a banner and things like that, you can get away with about 150 DPI. Now let's talk real briefly about CMYK as well as RGB, because you might not be familiar with those terms. RGB is red, green, blue, and that's the color combination that your eye sees and my eye sees when we're looking at a TV or we're looking at a computer screen or any sort of monitor. But in print, it is a process called CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And that's how this gets printed. And I'll give you a good example. If this were to be done in RGB, these blues are probably going to come out purple. And maybe you've sent things to the printer before and you got it back and said, well, that's supposed to be blue, but it tends to be a little bit more on the purple side. Well, it might be because of the fact that it was set up in RGB and printed as RGB instead of CMYK. So anyhow, these are great for test prints that we found, because what it does is it allows us to not only visualize it and see what it's going to look like on a bigger scale, but we can kind of look at it and see if there was any little things that we might have missed in setting up the artwork. For example, obviously you can't tell on something this small and is that tight, but you probably could on a big backdrop like a 10 by 8, right? But what I could do if I really wanted to, I could blow this up and go to full size and then just take a section of this backdrop at 100% and just do a test print of, well, maybe it's this guy or her or the logo, whatever. There's a certain area that I might want to see that just to make sure that the test print looks great. I could do that at 100% in just a small swatch. And you kind of get the idea about how important this is. So I want to encourage you that even if you're not utilizing us and you're utilizing another printer, that's fine. Just make sure you get it right. Don't waste your money. It's really important that you get it right. Now, I talked about these side banners. Let me show you those right now. Okay, so this is my test, as I showed you. Now, let me show you the real deal. Boom. And you can see how vibrant they are and how much they pop. And that was just taking a little bit of extra time doing a test print to make sure that we got it right. These will go out to my client tomorrow.